Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Team Aqua's Seviper, a very cool Pokemon that came out of the Double Crisis set release. So with its Venom Tail attack, we can ideally repeatedly discard energy cards attached to our opponent's active Pokemon, provided that we are able to inflict them with some sort of special condition. So we're going to be utilizing the Team Aqua's Seviper in combination with the Hypnotoxic Laser. This will allow us to poison our opponent's active Pokemon and hopefully put them to sleep. Now, you guys are probably thinking, well, with Hypnotoxic Laser, we're only able to really inflict special condition on a mere 4 of our opponent's Pokemon, and you're absolutely right. So we're actually going to have a recycling mechanism, so that's going to be our Melodic with the Sparkling Ripples ability. This will allow us to look for any discarded card from our discard pile and then put it back into our hand. So that includes cards such as the Hypnotoxic Laser, so that will hopefully be much more than enough. And another very useful card that we're going to be running in this deck, that's going to be the Life Dew. So this card is going to make life incredibly difficult for our opponents. I mean, provided that we're able to repeatedly attach it to our Team Aqua Seviper, our opponent will not be able to draw onto a single one of their prize cards. So just a very cool sort of strategy. Melodic is an awesome Pokemon, absolutely underused in my opinion as well. So we are going to be hopefully recycling those Life Dews and those Hypnotoxic Lasers. Now of course, in case we do happen to run out of Hypnotoxic Lasers, we also have the Lysander's Trump card as sort of a last resort type of card. Just very nice to include in this sort of deck. So we are running a single copy of this in our deck. Now, given the fact that our deck is a energy prevention sort of strategy, we are going to be running a total of 4 copies of the Crushing Hammer. We flip a coin if we are able to get a heads. We're going to go right ahead and discard an energy card attached to any of our opponent's Pokemon. So this is a pretty cool card. And we're also going to be running a total of 2 copies of the Enhanced Hammer. This allows us to discard any special energy cards attached to one of our opponent's Pokemon. The flip side of it being that we don't need to rely on a flip coin as we did with the Crushing Hammer. So just another very useful card. We are running a total of 2 copies of this in our deck. And of course, given the fact that we are running the Hypnotoxic Laser, we'll be running a total of 2 copies of the Verbank City Gym. This will allow us to increase the total damage output on our opponent's poisoned Pokemon in between turns. So it seems to work quite nice with the Team Aqua Seviper, so we will be running a total of 2 copies of the Verbank City Gym, and we're also going to be running a total of 2 copies of the Silent Lab. Now, Silent Lab we have to be a little bit careful about when using, because it will ultimately shut down our Jirachi EX and our Mr. Mime. But, I mean, in case we are facing a deck that utilizes the Brazilian EX, for example, or the Keldeo EX, Darkrai EX, just any sorts of Pokemon that can repeatedly sort of switch in between. We want to absolutely be able to shut down their abilities, so we're going to go right ahead and run a total of 2 copies of the Silent Lab. Thankfully, that does not affect our Melodic's Sparkling Ripples ability, so we can go right ahead and retrieve the Silent Labs as well, for example, in case we need to. So we are running a total of 2 copies of the Silent Lab. Now, just discussing some of the other Pokemon, I did mention the Mr. Mime. His whole purpose is going to be for the Bench Barrier ability. Of course, we're running some very weak Phoebuses with a mere 30 HP each. Very easily able to get knocked out by Pokemon such as the Landorus EX, something that we don't want, so we'll be running a single copy of the Mr. Mime. Again, we do have to be mindful that when we are running the Silent Lab, it can potentially shut down our Mr. Mime's special ability as well, so that is absolutely something that we need to keep in mind if we are running against, say, a Landorus EX type of deck. I also mentioned the Jirachi EX, so with its Stellar Guidance ability, we are able to look for any supporter card from our deck and then put it into our hand. Now, I mean, Jirachi EX can actually be a massive liability of a Pokemon, and I would absolutely agree that in some instances it's just an awful Pokemon, especially if we happen to start off with it. But luckily for us, guys, we will be running a total of 4 copies of the Super Scoop Up. This will allow us to hopefully bring that Jirachi EX back into our hand, and then we can use its Stellar Guidance ability a couple of times in case we need to, and we can also use it on our Melodics to use the Sparkling Ripples ability. So Super Scoop Up, just a very cool card, seems to work exceptionally well with the Melodic and the Jirachi EX. So we'll be running a total of 4 copies of the Super Scoop Up. Now, the other cards in our deck, I feel, guys, are pretty self-explanatory, but let me just discuss 2 more of the Energy Disruption cards that we have in our deck. So one of them is going to be the Supporter Team Flare Grunt card. This will allow us to get rid of an energy card attached to our opponent's active Pokemon. So this is quite nice in that there's no sort of flip coin mechanism that is involved, and it's able to immediately discard an energy card. And ideally, this is sort of our main sort of plan with respect to dealing with Seismitoad EX type of decks, because I mean we are quite heavily reliant on our item type cards, and Seismitoad EX can give us an incredibly difficult time, so Team Flare Grunt can hopefully allow us to take care of those Seismitoad EXs, and in case our opponent is able to repeatedly attach energy cards to his Seismitoad EX and repeatedly able to attack us, well, hopefully then we can use our Melodics to go right ahead and retrieve that Team Flare Grunt from our discard pile, and then deal with those sorts of menacing Pokemon. So we are running a single copy of the Team Flare Grunt, and we're also running a single copy of the Headringer. Again, just a very nice card, especially for facing a Seismitoad EX deck, and we're able to latch it on before we ultimately get item locked, and can just make life a heck of a lot more difficult for our opponent's EX type Pokemon. So we are running a single copy of the Headringer. Now the other cards in our deck are again pretty self-explanatory, guys. So we are running a single Starling Megaphone to deal with those Garbodor type Pokemon, and just to get rid of tool type attachments to our opponent's Pokemon. We are running a single Switch, 3 copies of the Ultra Ball, 2 VS Seekers, a single Lysander, 4 copies of the N card, 4 Junipers, and that is pretty much it for the most part. We're also running a total of 8 energy cards, 4 of them being the double colors energy, just so we are able to attack in a single turn, and 4 of them being the double aqua energy. I do feel like the double aqua energy does need to be mentioned, that it has a very, very detrimental sort of side effect, and that side effect is that this card gets discarded at the end of the turn that we attached it. But, I mean, we do want to be able to repeatedly attack with our Team Aqua Sevipers. A mere 4 double colors energies is probably not going to be consistent, so I felt like this was a nice enough card to include in our deck regardless. I know it's a bit of a massive downside, but nonetheless, it is quite important to just be able to make our deck as consistent as possible. So we'll be running a total of 4 copies of the double aqua energy. So with that, guys, let's actually go and see what this deck is capable of. I've played a few games with it. I have still been tweaking it. Seems to be performing quite well. Again, the most sort of awful matchup that we can get is against the Seismitoad EX type of deck. Our opponent is running a water type deck, so I could actually be facing a Seismitoad EX deck, so maybe that Team Flare Grunt will be the card that will ultimately save us. So okay, so it looks like our opponent is actually going to be running a Primal Kyogre EX type of deck, so that could actually be work in our favor tremendously, because we'll be able to repeatedly get rid of energy type attachments to our opponent's Pokemon, and Primal Kyogre EX actually needs a whole ton of energy cards just to be able to attack, so we should hopefully have a relatively good game. So let's see who our opponent has brought out, and it looks like it's going to be the Wailord EX. So let's go right ahead and poison that massive whale of a Pokemon. We'll be laying down the Verbank City Gym as well, attaching a double colors energy to our Team Aqua Seviper, and using the N for some new cards in our hand. Awesome, looks like we have the Life Dew, the Headringer. I'm actually not going to attach it to our opponent's Wailord EX just yet, because I don't think that our opponent is really going to be able to attach a massive 5 energy cards all that early. So let's go right ahead and end our turn. I'll probably be saving that for one of our opponent's Kyogre EXs, because I mean, the Primal Kyogre EX is able to attach 2 energy cards per any given turn, and if I happen to Headringer one of our opponent's Kyogre EXs, well, then that means that that Primal Kyogre EX is sorry, what's going to happen? So that Primal Kyogre EX will have to give up a turn just to be able to evolve. So it looks like our opponent is going to attach an energy card attached to the Wailord EX. And I mean, our opponent's Water Veil ability allows him to remove any special conditions from him. So I think I'm just going to go right ahead and utilize the Team Flare Grunt. I'm actually going to go right ahead and attach that Headringer to opponent's Keldeo EX, just so that it can't just rush in and switch in between our opponent's Pokemon. I mean, I'm thinking if that is what I would like to do, guys, potentially I'm actually going to go right ahead and use the Juniper. So let's actually go and get rid of the Team Flare Grunt and the Super Scoop Up to look for one of our Phoebuses and then lay it down into the bench. We'll be using the Professor Juniper to get some new cards in our hand. Awesome, looks like we do have another one of our Hypnotoxic Lasers, so let's go right ahead and poison our opponent's Wailord EX, use the Crushing Hammer, and unfortunately we are going to get a Tails, but let's go right ahead and lay down 2 more Phoebuses, use the Venom Tail, and discard that energy card attached to our opponent's Wailord EX. I mean, the one sort of Pokemon that I am a little bit worried about in case our opponent happens to be running is going to be the Blastoise with the Deluge ability, because that can allow our opponent to pretty much counter our entire energy denial sort of strategy, because of course that Blastoise allows for a whole ton of energy attachments in a single turn. Looks like our opponent is actually going to Lysander out our Phoebus, so I'll probably be using the Juniper during our turn, guys. So let's go and actually poison that Wailord EX once again, use the Juniper for some new cards in our hand. And okay, so do I have any switches in our discard pile? I do have a Super Scoop Up. So I'm thinking we're actually going to go right ahead and bring out the Melodic. So let's actually go and lay down the Seviper for the time being. We'll be using the Ultra Ball to discard the Burbank City Gem and the N card for the time being. Look for the Melodic and really hoping for the heads on the Super Scoop Up. Hopefully we are able to get it. And okay, yes, Super Scoop Up, absolutely the card that I want to be able to use. So let's go right ahead and use it. And awesome, looks like we are going to get the head. So let's go and bring that Melodic and then bring out that Team Aqua Seviper once again. We'll be laying down the Phoebus, and I won't be laying down the Silent Lab just yet. I do want that Burbank City Gem to be able to hit our opponent's Wailord EX for a little bit of extra damage. So let's go right ahead and use the Venom Tail, knock out that energy card once again, and set our opponent back to stage 1. So as you guys can see, we've already been able to discard 2 energy cards in our opponent's Pokemon, and just that Wailord EX is taking on a whole ton of damage. So we do have the Melodic in our hand once again. I can absolutely use it to look for another one of our Hypnotoxic Lasers, because that Water Veil ability keeps sort of denying us the poisoning. So actually, it may be a bit of a smart choice, guys, if I ultimately do decide to use the Silent Lab, because both our opponent's Keldeo EX and his Wailord EX do have the special ability. So I think I may actually be laying down the Silent Lab during our turn. Okay, it looks like our opponent's going to attach the Water Energy to his Kyogre EX. Our Phoebus is going to get Lysandered out. So let's actually go and use the Crushing Hammer. Awesome, looks like we're going to get the heads. So we'll be bringing out the Melodic. And then I'm going to go right ahead and look for the Super Scoop Up once again. Let's go right ahead and use it. Tails this time around, that is a little bit unfortunate. Let's go and lay down the Silent Lab. We'll be using the Juniper to get some new cards in our hand. Awesome, looks like we have 2 more Super Scoop Ups, so hopefully we're able to get a heads on one of them. Awesome, looks like we will. Let's bring out the Team Aqua Seviper, lay down 2 more Team Aqua Sevipers in our bench, and I'm going to be saving the Melodic for the time being. Don't really think that we need any particular cards from our discard pile just yet. So let's go right ahead and hit that Wailord EX for another 30 damage once again. Now, Silent Lab is definitely the card that I want to be able to keep throughout the field for the vast majority of the game, just because I do want to be able to prevent that Keldeo EX and Wailord EX, for example, from being able to rush. And our opponent has asked us what the strategy of our deck is, and its whole sort of purpose is the energy denial. So okay, so let's go right ahead and bring out the Melodic and look for the Silent Lab. And now our opponent's Pokemon special abilities will be negated once again. So let's go right ahead, lay down that Silent Lab, and then I will be using the Super Scoop Up once again. Awesome, get the heads, bring that Melodic back into our hand, and I am thinking what I would like to do. I feel like we don't particularly need, again, any sorts of cards from our discard pile just yet. So let's go right ahead and use the N for some new cards in our hand. Okay, so let's go and attach a double colorless energy to one of our Team Aqua Sevipers and hit our opponent's Aqua Seviper for 30 damage using our Wailord EX. Hitting our opponent's Wailord EX for a 30 damage once again. So Wailord EX has a mere 10 HP remaining. Keldeo EX is unable to rush in, so hopefully we should be able to knock it out during our turn. Our opponent is going to utilize the Ultra Ball, telling us that he is unable to get a supporter card. And yeah, so things are absolutely looking in our favor right now. Our opponent is going to look for the Primal Kyogre EX, so now he'll be able to attach 2 energy cards during any given turn. So that could be a bit menacing. I will probably be using the Melodic, to look for one of our our Hypnotoxic Lasers. So let's go right ahead and look for one of those. So Hypnotoxic Laser, let's see where it is. Awesome, it's right over here. Thinking if there's any other better card. No, Hypnotoxic Laser is absolutely the way to go. So let's go and poison our opponent's Keldeo EX, attach a double colors energy to one of our Team Aqua Sevipers, and then hit it with a Venom Tail for 30 damage. The game is going to be a bit slow from this point out, because we don't have the Burbank City Gems allowing us to dish out that extra damage in between turns, but I definitely feel like Silent Lab is the way to go. So our opponent is going to be able to attach 2 water energy cards to his Primal Kyogre EX, so that could be a bit menacing for us. And hopefully our opponent is unable to bring out another one of his Rough Seas, because that will sort of be taking away all the damage that we are stacking onto his Pokemon nice and slow. So I think I'm going to look for the Super Scoop Up and potentially recycle one of our Crushing Hammers. I do want to prevent that Primal Category EX from really being able to attack. I mean, if our Team Aqua Seviper does ultimately get knocked out, he does have the Life Dew, so that can absolutely be nice as well. So let's go and use the Crushing Hammer. We are going to get the heads. Let's go and use the Super Scoop Up, and awesome, heads. Looks like this game is being very, very kind to us right now. So let's go and bring out the Melodic. Once again, look for another one of our Crushing Hammers. Use it all over again, and another heads. My goodness, we are getting extremely lucky. That's absolutely something that I can't deny. So let's go and use the Venom Tail, hit our opponent's Keldeo EX for 30 damage once again. We'll probably be needing the Lysander's trump card soon, because we have a whole ton of our important cards in our discard pile. I mean, have I used all of our Super Scoop Ups? Yes, we have used all of our Super Scoop Ups, so I am hoping to get the Lysander's trump card. Opponent is going to bring out the Rough Seas, heal that Keldeo EX for 30 damage, so I think we're going to go right ahead and bring out our Melodic, and then look for the Silent Lab once again, just to prevent that healing in between turns. And do I have anything else that I would particularly like to grab? I don't think so, so I think the Juniper may just be the way to go. So let's go right ahead, use the Juniper for some new cards in our hand. Awesome, we do have the Lysander's trump card. Let's use the Crushing Hammer, and another head. Oh my goodness, I don't even know how many heads we've been able to flip right now, but I am feeling a little bit sorry for our opponent. He seems to be getting incredibly unlucky and has not been able to dish out any damage at all during the entire span of this game right now. So as you guys can see, all of our Pokemon are full HP, and opponent is going to use the N. Luckily for us, we do get the Lysander's trump card once again. So I mean, looks like our opponent is probably going to lose. The switch is going to come out, so our opponent is going to bring out another one of his Keldeo EXs. Again, luckily for us, we have been able to shut down our opponent's Rush In ability. I am hoping to poison our opponent's Pokemon relatively soon, so we'll be using the VS Seeker to look for the Colress if we happen to have one. No, so I'll probably be using it for a Juniper before I actually use the Lysander's trump card. So let's go and use the VS Seeker again for the Juniper. Bring it into our hand, and then let's go right ahead and use the Lysander's trump card for some new cards. I mean, I could have also used the Lysander in case I wanted to lure out our opponent's Keldeo EX, but I felt like this was a bit more of a priority, just because of course I want to be able to draw onto some more of our Super Scoop Ups, for example. So let's go right ahead, hit our opponent's Keldeo EX for 30 damage. And then with that, we are going to go right ahead and end our turn. Opponent is going to utilize the Professor's Letter, so it looks like that Primal Category EX could be a bit of a menacing Pokemon for us to deal with relatively soon. Only needs a single energy card, and then he will be able to use that massive Tidal Storm attack. And our opponent also is bringing out one of his Clamperls, which will of course be evolving into the Huntail. Opponent going to use the Professor Sycamore, my apologies, someone corrected me on my spelling. Startling Megaphone is going to come out, so our Life Dew is unfortunately going to get discarded. And okay, so I mean, the Ultra Ball is not really going to be all that useful of a card. So yeah, let's go right ahead and use the Juniper to get some new cards in our hand. Okay, so we do have the Super Scoop Ups. So I'm actually going to use that to look for the Life Dew, hope for the heads. Awesome, we are going to get one, but unfortunately we had another of our Melodic, so let's actually go and lay down a Phoebus for now. Use the Super Scoop Up once again, flip the tails, Super Scoop Up, and another heads. Let's bring out another one of our Phoebuses. Again, we are not going to be able to look for any of those cards just yet, but let's go right ahead and use the Venom Tail, hit our opponent's Keldeo EX for 30 damage once again. Unfortunately, no Hypnotoxic Lasers, so we're not going to be able to attack as early as I would unfortunately like us to. But we'll probably be looking for another Head Ringer and then latching it on to our opponent's active Keldeo EX, just because I don't want our opponent to be able to look for one of their Float Stones. Looks like our opponent is going to use the Skyla. I'm assuming it's going to be the Float Stone, yeah. So unfortunately, I was not able to grab onto the Head Ringer early enough. So from this point out, guys, we will be needing the Hypnotoxic Laser, because that massive Primal Category EX is going to come out, hit us for a massive 170 damage, and possibly move those two Water Energies, okay, to his Keldeo EX. Not exactly what I expected, but let's go right ahead and bring out the Team Aqua's Seviper for now. So let's go and actually bring out the Melodic to look for the Life Dew. Again, just a very important card for us to have, so let's go and look for that life dew, and then go right ahead and attach it to our Team Aqua Seviper. And seeing if there's anything else I would like to use, guys, I do have the VS Seeker as well. We have 3 Super Scoop Ups, but I don't feel like using the Lysander's trump card just yet. I do want the Hypnotoxic Laser to put our opponent's active Primal Calgary EX to sleep. He would be able to attack during his next turn because he only needs 2 more energy cards. Wish I could latch on a head ringer to him, but unfortunately that doesn't look like it's going to happen. So let's actually go and bring out the Melodic and look for what card would I actually like to grab into. I could grab onto a Super Scoop Up or another one of our Team Aqua Vipers and then lay him just back down into our bench. I think I'm going to look for the Team Aqua Viper for now, guys. So let's actually go right ahead and lay him down. And yeah, unfortunately, I think that is going to be it. So let's go right ahead and use the Juniper for some new cards in our hand. Awesome, looks like we have a couple of our Crushing Hammers, a head, awesome, and another Crushing Hammer, one more head. I feel like our opponent is probably going to think that I'm probably cheating at this point. I actually should have saved one of our Crushing Hammers. That was a little bit foolish of me because I did just inflict our opponent's Primal Kyogre EX with the Poison status condition. So I could have, of course, used that Crushing Hammer to get rid of an energy card attached to our opponent's Caldio EX. A bit of a foolish mistake on my part. Deuce, it is something that we should keep in mind just because, of course, the Team Aqua Viper is quite a bit of a menacing Pokemon. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have another water energy card because then that Caldio EX would be able to knock out our Team Aqua Viper. That Rough Seas is going to come out. I absolutely need to get rid of it early because then it's going to get rid of a whole lot of effort that we have put into the game thus far. So let's go and bring out the Team Aqua Viper. Unfortunately, Enhanced Hammer, not particularly useful. Let's go and poison our opponent's Caldio EX and use a Crushing Hammer as well. Get details this time around. And I think we're going to go right ahead and look for the Juniper. So let's go and use the VS Seeker, look for the Professor Juniper, and then use it to get some new cards in our hand. Awesome, looks like we do have the Verbank City Gem. But then, of course, our opponent's bench Caldio EX would be able to rush in, unfortunately. But it's much better than allowing our opponent to use that Rough Seas for that massive healing. So let's go and lay down the Phoebus and then hit our opponent for a mere 30 damage again. But we are at least able to discard an energy card attached to our opponent's Caldio EX. Looks like he is going to flip the tails, but again, Caldio EX is now free to use its Rush In ability. We do need that Silent Lab, just why I sort of emphasized how useful of a card it could be. As you guys can see though, this game is dragging on at a snail's pace. Our opponent is going to rush in using his Caldio EX, and an energy card 2 are going to come to our opponent's active Primal Kyogre EX. Don't really think our opponent is going to be able to attack just yet. I felt like the way to go would have been to actually attach an energy card to our opponent's Huntail just for him to be able to dish out some damage. Looks like our opponent had a bit of a different idea in mind. So let's go and use the Super Scoop Up, and we are going to flip the head. I think now, guys, would sort of be the time for us to ultimately look for the Lysander's trump card. So unfortunately, I'm just going to go and... Oh, it looks like I can't. Oh, right. Sorry, I completely forgot about this Phoebus. So let's actually go and bring him out to look for the Lysander's trump card just to be able to recycle the cards from our discard pile back into our deck all over again. And then let's go and hit that Caldio EX for a mere 30 damage. We should hopefully, though, be able to always sort of win the Stadium War just because we have the Melodics and we have quite a few Stadium cards in our deck as well. So things shouldn't be too bad. If our opponent does not have a supporter type card, he will not be able to attack, most likely during this turn. Again, unless he has... Okay, so it looks like he does have some water energy cards. So that Caldio EX will unfortunately be able to knock out our superior. Not really sure why our opponent is not attacking with the Huntail. Our opponent is going to Lysander out one of our Melodics and then knock it out. So let's go right ahead and bring out the Team Aqua's Seviper. And, I mean, do I have anything useful? Not really. So the Super Scoop Up, not really going to be the best card just yet. So I think I might actually be bringing out a Jirachi EX to look for a better supporter card as opposed to the N. Yeah, so let's actually go right ahead and do that. And we should have a Colress unless it's prized. Unfortunately, it does look like it's prized. So let's actually go and look for the Professor Juniper. Use it to get some new cards in our hand. Awesome, we do have the Head Ringer. So let's go and poison our opponent's Caldio EX. And then, I mean, I can go and attach that to our opponent's bench Caldio EX. Sorry, yeah, to their bench Caldio EX as well. So let's go right ahead and actually do that. And then knock out an energy card attached to our opponent's active Caldio EX. I mean, I don't think I have any Lysanders. Yes, we don't have any Lysanders in our discard pile just yet, unfortunately, but I could potentially use the the Ultra Ball during our turn to look for a Melodic, a Super Scoop Up, and then potentially look for a Lysander in case our opponent's Keldeo EX happens to retreat, because again, I don't want our opponent to be able to use that Rough Seas and then repeatedly heal his Pokemon. As you guys can see though, this game is going painfully slow right now. I don't have the Life Dew, so our opponent is ultimately able to draw onto some of his prize cards as long as he's able to slowly knock out our Pokemon. Okay, looks like our opponent's not really going to be able to do anything right now, so I'm actually going to go right ahead and knock out our opponent's active Keldeo EX. With that poison damage, we will be ultimately able to draw onto 2 of our prize cards. Looks like our opponent is saying that this is boring. Not exactly the most fun deck, I agree. I mean, it's kind of fun for me, but it is a bit of a painfully slow game. So let's actually go and bring out the Melodic. I will be using the Lysander's trump card for now. Again, I want to be able to recycle some of our lasers, things like that. So let's go right ahead, bring out that Melodic, and then look for that Lysander's trump card. I do have the Juniper in our hand, which I will be using on our next turn. So then let's go and knock out our opponent's Keldeo EX, and then draw onto 2 of our prize cards. Okay, so I feel like from here on out, guys, we should most likely be able to win. Our opponent is going to bring out his Keldeo EX, which is unable to knock out our Team Aqua Seviper. I mean, it would be foolish if our opponent decides to leave him in the active slot. I will be using the Startling Megaphone as well, absolutely, just because. Okay, looks like our opponent's actually going to use the N on us instead. Rough Seas is going to come out again. The Stadium card that I absolutely want to be able to prevent. And okay, so it looks like our opponent is going to attack us with his Keldeo EX. He may just have gotten bored to the point where he's ultimately going to try and end the game regardless. So let's go and actually use the Crushing Hammer, get the heads, discard the energy card attached to that Keldeo EX, use the N for some new cards in our hand. And okay, nothing too great. I mean, we do have 2 Junipers, but again, nothing particularly useful, and unfortunately, we are not able to knock out our opponent's Keldeo EX just yet. Okay, so our Team Aqua Seviper is going to get knocked out as well. Our opponent is going to use the N once again. And okay, so we should be able to win. But as you guys saw, this game is painful to deal with. But we are ultimately able to edge out on top. Oh, actually, no, we don't have the Verbank City Gym just yet. Okay, so let's go and actually use the Hypnotoxic Laser. Awesome, we have the heads. Really hoping that that Keldeo EX stays asleep. But, I mean, he will be able to use the Rough Seas to heal it. So let's go and actually discard an energy card. Our opponent is going to stay asleep. That is absolutely awesome. But again, that Rough Seas is sort of the troubling card for us to deal with right now. Really hoping for a useful sort of supporter card, guys. Looks like that N did a bit of damage on us. And, I mean, if we're able to draw into an energy card or some sort of supporter card, hopefully we should be able to win. That Primal Category X is probably going to get ready and loaded up to attack. I mean, yeah, so we had a pretty powerful start. We were able to get rid of a whole ton of energy cards attached to our opponent's Pokemon, but looks like things have slowed down a little bit, so we're really looking for something useful, guys. And awesome, looks like our opponent's Keldeo EX is going to remain asleep. I was just worried that another Keldeo EX may have come out. Awesome, looks like we are ultimately going to be able to top deck onto the double colorless energy for the victory. So let's go and attack and draw our final 2 prize cards. An incredibly long and it's a bit boring game, but thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.